So, we've given up on the sky, huh? Not even halfway into the season and we've already committed to burning the sky at the stake? According to half of F1 Twitter, which as we know is always a great platform for those who know wheels, Sainz ain't the guy that Ferrari needs, and that is part of the reason why Red Bull are running away into the distance with both titles firmly in their grasp. Well, I'm not too sure about any of that, partially because I'm a recalcitrant bastard, but also because maybe, just maybe, it might be a little bit too far-fetched. I mean, let's have a look at his season thus far. And yeah, this won't be a long video, this is in the here and the now, and I'm sure in about 6 months we're gonna look back on this video and think, why the fuck do F1 YouTubers turn out videos like this? Why? I wonder. Anyways, Bahrain. Really not too much to fault here, except for the fact he called it the worst week of his Ferrari career. The worst week of his Ferrari career so far. Was a benefactor of Max's engine going boom, and was ultimately not running with his teammate on pure pace. Saudi Arabia was decent, being within striking distance, much like the missiles outside the circuit grounds. Australia, however, is when it gets a bit tricky. Qualifying was relatively decent before making the mistake of spinning off into the sandbox on lap 3 of the race, which, strangely enough, in this sport, you don't get points for. Imola, he messed up in qualifying, spinning off into the gravel and costing him a bunch of positions, which led to him getting harpooned by Danny Rick in the race. That on its own was not his fault, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place, and that was his fault. In Miami, he tested the barriers out in practice, which didn't help. He couldn't hang with his teammate or Max during the race, and nearly lost out on the podium despite Checo Perez having an engine that was supposedly running on rat poison. In Spain, he was a little bossed around, which was kind of compounded by the fact that on lap 7, he took another trip to the sandbox where, at that time, I would have hoped that he would have figured out that slick tyres don't work on gravel. And on top of that, he was running nearly half a second slower than Charles. Although, to be fair, that deficit did improve on lap 27, when Charles' engine went up like Mount Vesuvius, but you know, it's something. Monaco was a good chance for him, but it just wasn't meant to be. Whether you want to put that one down to him messing up the strategy, or the Ferrari strategists themselves doing their utmost job to lose the race for them, it was a missed opportunity. One thing is for sure though, King Latifi didn't help. Baku wasn't entirely his own fault, going out with hydraulic issues, but he was still significantly behind Leclerc on pace, so that on its own kind of worked against him. Montreal was Sainz's big chance with Leclerc down the end of the field, and Checo going out with transmission purples. For a lot of the race, he kept to a decent pace behind Max Verstappen, and after Suki Tsunoda threw it into the barriers and brought out the safety car, this was Carlos's chance. In the main, he wasn't quite close enough to launch a move down the inside, always being about a couple tenths too far behind. But on that second to last lap, he was closer, 3/10 closer than previous laps. He could smell blood. This was his chance. All he had to do was keep it clean and get a good launch off the hairpin, which he didn't do. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's been a season thus far. But even if you want to focus on all the negatives from the season, and there have been a lot, at worst, these are muck-ups that we've seen countless other drivers commit before. Not to say this is acceptable, because it ain't, let's get that out of the way. For a Ferrari driver, this is not good. But this ain't exactly a problem unique to Carlos. What's more, his pace has been a little crap compared to Leclerc, but let's not undermine how damn fast Charles is. And also that last year, the pace deficit between Max and Checo was constantly being brought up. Here we are a year later. Is it still a problem? Or has the patience paid off a bit? So what's to be done with this lad? Say you want to replace him. Cool. With who? And who exactly do you think is going to get the job done? Without fail. And can you guarantee it? Well, of course you can't. No one has got a crystal ball in this business. While contracts don't mean dick in the sport anymore, finding an out-of-contract driver who could do a better job than Carlos with guarantee? Yeah, good luck with that. And for all the talk I heard about Sainz not getting past Max in Montreal, with that being a sign that Ferrari re-signed him a bit too early, truth be told, was anyone getting past Max that day? We've just endured a full season where Sir Lewis Hamilton found out that Max was harder to pass than a kidney stone. And ultimately, lest we not forget that his teammates spent almost an entire race behind a 6'1" baguette. Overtaking that day wasn't exactly a cakewalk, especially with a Ferrari that had no back-end traction. When all was said and done, it has been a rough start to the season for Sainz. There is no getting around that. I mean, you can't look at a season thus far and think, yes, this is exactly what we wanted. Personally though, we've seen a lot of instances where a driver can get back on their feet with but one good result. Sometimes they need that confidence booster. They don't quite have a magic pill for that, or at the very least, it ain't legal, as Frank Montagny can attest to. If this is still an issue come the end of the season, then yes, Mattia Binotto may have a problem on his hands, but we've still got over half the championship left and a lot to play for, and it could just take that one result to allay fears that the Tifosi may have. So don't give up on Carlos Sainz. At least, not yet.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. as you fade away.